Dear students, today we will be discussing a very familiar, very commonly seen topic called as ambush marketing. Before I get started with the topic, I am sure that I don't have to introduce who the person in the picture is. We will come to him sometime later. Every company in the corporate landscape will try as much as they can to improve their brand positioning. Brand positioning refers to a conceptual space that every company would like to create in the minds of their customers so that they will buy their company's products compared to their competitors' products. You would have already learned about so many concepts which starts with brand, saying brand equity, brand loyalty, brand value, etc. And one concept which is very common, which is very similar to it, is called as brand awareness. Now, brand awareness is where all of this starts. How do companies create brand awareness? Through paid advertising. Companies spend millions of dollars creating advertisements that represents their brand. But you are not alone in the corporate space. There are your competitors who will also come up with products which are very similar to yours. They will also go for paid advertisements. When the similarity between your product and the competitor's product becomes more and more, the competition in terms not just in the shops or where you have your sales, in terms of advertisements also will be on the rise, which leads to something called as brand war. There are so many instances of brand wars which has spread over decades between companies. For an example, between BMW and Mercedes. What you see here is an ad which was released by Mercedes congratulating BMW on celebrating 100 years. But you look at the ad very carefully, they say that the first 30 years were boring, literally telling that we are a 130-year-old company and you are only 100 years old. There are a series of ads, kindly look up on the internet, about between BMW and Audi and how they have made fun of each other for a long time. I can quote so many examples which are related to this: Pepsi and Coca-Cola. I'll write Coke for that matter. There is an ad which says, which shows a boy coming and going to a vending machine, getting 2 cans of Coca-Cola, standing on both these cans of Coca-Cola, buying a Pepsi. Now, these are all ads which you see very common. As long as these ads do not create trouble for their sales or their revenues, it's fine. It's just making fun of each other. But where it gets a little ugly is when you start ambushing each other. Ambushing refers to a surprise attack. You know the literal meaning of that word. In the year 2010, when Procter & Gamble owned Pantene wanted to launch a new shampoo, what they did is they really didn't want to start off selling the shampoo on day one. They wanted to create curiosity in the minds of people. So what they did is they booked all the billboards in major cities in the country, and they came up with the ad saying there is a mystery shampoo, and 80% of the people agree with it, there is a mystery shampoo. And their idea was to generate curiosity for almost a week, then introduce their product as the mystery shampoo. But what Dove, Unilever owned Dove, did is, as soon as they saw the ad which has come from Procter & Gamble, the next day they booked the billboards near this and they came up with the ad saying there is no mystery at all, ours is the best shampoo. This was a classic example of ambush advertisement which had happened in our country, and Procter & Gamble had to have a news conference where they very clearly said that Dove should not have done it, because single-handedly with one stroke what Dove did is, they bulldozed through the entire advertisement strategy of Procter and Gamble. Now, companies look for the largest events to popularize or to make awareness, create awareness about their products. If you ask any person what are the largest events, we can right away tell you that it will be the Olympics, it will be the Cricket World Cup, it will be the FIFA World Cup. I have a long list, let's actually keep it like that. Now, how did these events happen? They come from, it is sponsored by large companies which fund these events. And why do these large companies fund these events? Because they wanted to get the mileage and get into the minds of people or the viewers. I've written people, which is not very appropriate, but let's keep it like that for the time being. So IOC approaches sponsors, as sponsors approaches, they spend a lot of money sponsoring a particular event so that they can get the mileage out of it and get into the people's minds. And every year that happens, for the currently planned Olympics of Tokyo 2020, which is supposed to happen right now, they have received sponsorships worth $3 billion. We don't know what will happen for the Olympics, but this is a situation. People get lots of money through sponsorships. But not everyone can become a sponsor. So you will have companies who will ambush this particular event. They will have nothing to do with being the official sponsor, but they will create an impression to the common public that they are sponsoring this event or they have something to do with this major event. So a sponsor spend, for example, they spend $1 million and an ambusher spends $0 and they get all the attention they want. This is called as ambush marketing. It is a menace. It has been there for a long time. There is no way that you can prevent ambush advertising. We'll come to that later. Now, there are different ways by which ambush advertisements, ambush marketing is done. There is a direct method and there is an indirect method. Direct method is typical. The first direct method is typical of the definition of ambush marketing, which is called as predatory. Predatory advertising is the example that I mentioned here itself. Ambusher acts as though he is in one way or the other aligned towards the biggest event and tricks people or confuses people in believing that they have something to do with it. An example is the 1996 World Cup. 1996 World Cup was primarily sponsored by a company called Coca-Cola, and Pepsi didn't have anything to do with it. So they created a series of advertisement campaigns with Sachin Tendulkar and Shah Rukh Khan, and this ad was made very popular. They didn't have anything to do with the event, but they said Pepsi, nothing official about it. If you ask me who won the 1996 World Cup, I don't remember, but I very clearly remember this tagline, Pepsi, nothing official about it. The second type of direct advertising in terms of ambush marketing is called as coat tail advertising. Coat tail. Coat tail is the portion behind your coat, which is below your waist. What happens in the case of coat tail is, if you cannot sponsor an event, you will start sponsoring athletes who participate in the event. A classic example of that is world famous swimmer Michael Phelps. When he walked into the London Olympics arena, he had a pair of headphones. Not just him, many of the swimmers who were there had headphones with them. And there was a curiosity among people, which headphones are they wearing, and they started Googling to find out, and they found out that he was using a company called as Beats. Now, this is not very appropriate for the company which has sponsored the Olympics. So that is called as coat tail advertising. The third one is called as self ambush. A sponsoring company would have spent $1 million in sponsoring an event, and they don't do it for charity. They've got exactly clear methods in their mind how to get back their million using the advertisements, popularity, brand awareness, etc., etc. But what they will do is they will try to capitalize on this event to the maximum. They would start a series of parallel advertisements to get maximum benefit out of it, which is called as self-ambush as well. In the indirect methods, the very first one is broadcasting rights. When the 1996 World Cup was sponsored by Coca-Cola, Pepsi did an ambush. But in the 1997 Sharjah Cup was sponsored by Pepsi. Coca-Cola did an ambush by taking care of the broadcasting rights, buying the broadcasting rights. They ran a series of ads, so people all felt that Coca-Cola is part of the Sharjah Cup as well. The second way by which indirect ambush is done is through merchandise. Ambushing companies will set up stalls near the stadium where you have the event, and they would circulate their brochures, their coupons and all that. For example, if you have seen a cricket match happen, there will be lots of spectators who will have a placard with them with a 6 and a 4. And ambushing company will be sponsoring this brochures. They will be giving to the spectators who will be walking into the stadium, and they will have their ad in that. And the third way is by using taglines, music themes, and words like say 2016 or 2020 and World Cup, etc. And they will start a series of advertisements on the internet with using hashtags, which tends to make people believe that they are also associated with this event. These are some of the ways by which they get into ambush marketing. But then, how do we prevent ambush marketing from happening? Basically, ambush advertising and ambush marketing are used interchangeably because the meaning and the utility of that remains pretty much the same. Now, how do we prevent that from happening? Technically, there are no rules that you can use. The problem that we have is in India, we only have the Trademark Act of 99 and the Copyright Act of 2012 to support. When the organizers of an event start using this, it really doesn't work. For the South African Cricket World Cup, Philips came up with a series of contests, and they said that the people who win these contests will be given free tickets to go to South Africa and watch the event. ICC went to the Delhi High Court and they filed a case against Philips, but what the High Court held is that you cannot say Philips is responsible because anybody can buy a ticket. Anybody can go buy a ticket and go to the World Cup, so you really cannot say that Philips is actually ambushing. Now, how do we prevent ambushing? There are certain methods that you can do. The first one being they will identify potential ambushers and give a public notice that such people are going to come up with ads related to our event. They are not related to our event even before the event starts. The second is they will prevent uses of the taglines, music, etc. and phrases. All these will be reserved by the organizing people so that none of the other people will be able to use that for any kind of propaganda or any kind of advertisement. The third is they will create a clean zone near all the stadia where it is going to happen, so that about 3 kilometers or 2 kilometers in the radius, you cannot have another advertisement. The fourth is they will reserve all the colors that are commonly used for the event. If there is a particular color which is the theme of that event, that cannot be used by anybody else. And the fifth is they will say that the logos which are there on the jerseys or on the attire of the sportsman will have to be of a particular size. They cannot exceed the size. Even after all these regulations, ambush advertisement still happens. There is absolutely no way that you can prevent it, because once you start imposing a new regulation, people will find ways to circumvent that and come up with a new strategy to ambush that event. An example of that is the 2016 Olympics, where they came up with a very clear Rule 40 saying that an athlete, a coach or an official cannot endorse any other company other than the sponsoring company. But in the ambush advertisement or ambush marketing textbooks, a classic example of how subtly they ambush the event is given. After winning gold at the Olympics, Usain Bolt, after doing his signature move, what he did is he showed his boot to everybody there, which had prominently written the name of Puma. Now, IOC could not sue Usain Bolt because he was doing that right, following all the rules, but he was very subtly ambushing. Ambush marketing will always be there in all the contests. Despite all the measures that the organizers take, companies will find different ways to ambush the event. I hope this session was useful to you. Thank you.